Hello and welcome to I Can't Say It, day 249. Welcome. Today is Thursday, and that means only one thing. Tomorrow is Friday. I hope that you are all looking forward to a nice and quiet Friday at work or school or wherever you are. Certain companies I've been at, Fridays are always quiet days. The company I'm at now, Fridays are busy days. And it's unfortunate that, you can't cruise into the weekend, but you do what you can. A couple of meetings tomorrow, one at 10:30, another one at 11. Should be interesting meetings, should be fun. In the world today, we still have the anonymous New York Times op-ed piece from a senior White House official who had posted a rather scathing article about the Trump administration. Now, when you're listening to the different people, usually one side of the argument, which is the Republicans, say they are hurting the Trump administration because I guess they're undermining confidence in the Trump administration, which I'm not exactly certain that's true, because my confidence in the Trump administration has always been rather weak. Based on what I have observed them doing so far. So it's not opinion, it's really, what are they doing? What do they say they're going to do? What are they doing? Are they doing it? Are they doing it well? And they don't really fit any of those criteria. So I've not been terribly pleased with the Trump administration. The other side of the coin is the left, which people always seem to equate with Democrats, which is fair to a point, but not entirely accurate, are jubilant that, again, the Trump administration is made to look like the fool, which is a fair assessment as well, simply because of the way they do things. And it doesn't seem to gel with what I would think a reasonable person would behave like. You know, if you're out there and you're the press secretary, I get that you're supposed to be the voice of the president, but it might be better to be the voice of the White House. And always having to support your president, no matter how ridiculous or inane the comments are that come from him, has got to be rather hard. Can you imagine the job that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is going through right now? Because if she's even the slightest bit reasonable, the slightest bit rational, and there's actually no evidence that she is, if you've ever listened to her father, because while he's supposed to be a minister, he doesn't ever seem to espouse the Christian values of a minister. So you have to wonder what the result is going to be after living in a household where you've got a father for a minister who isn't quite Christian, who isn't quite, I don't know, altogether, how that can impact you. But then I guess the same could be said for the Trumps, who their father is not necessarily the most level-headed person I've seen. It's a great story, if great area for research for PhD candidates. How does your upbringing with your parents affect you, and how does it compare to the behavior of your parents? Not sure you can actually do a study like that, because if you're comparing your parents' behavior when they're older, you really want to compare your parents' behavior at the same age. So Ivanka Trump is, I can't even remember her name, Ivanka Trump is what, 36 or so, to compare her behavior now to her father's behavior when he was 36. I guess that's actually the comparison you want to make. I don't know. I think they're all just a little crazy. Not in a mean way, but in a more, I kind of don't know where they're coming from with what they're doing. You know, it's funny because they always talk about immigration and how immigration, you know, is affecting the culture that we have around here. And I can kind of get that. I can get how if you're living in a neighborhood of Mexicans or Chinese or Japanese or Koreans or whatever, that their background, and they're immigrants, and their background is different than yours, then there's going to be sort of, there will be some barriers, let's put it that way. And whereas if you're in a neighborhood full of all people of your same racial background, there tend to be less barriers because you have had similar experiences. And so now when you get these people of different races or different ethnicities integrating and interacting, you're going to have some problems, not problems, issues, yeah, I guess call them issues, with how to interact with them. And it can be completely frustrating that, you know, you're talking your way and, you know, what you're trying to say isn't coming across to somebody else. And the reason why it's not coming across to somebody else is because they were raised differently than you. Now, it is easy to get frustrated at that. It is easy to go, wouldn't it be easier for them not to be in this country? So that slope I can see for certain people easy to make that jump. But that's the wrong attitude, because the same thing happens between two white people. For example, this white person number one and white person number two can have different backgrounds, and they're going to have different ways of looking at things. And you, being white person number one, talking to white person number two, you've got to tailor your message in such a way so that white person number two gets what you're trying to say. Now, that problem happens between two white people, happens between a white person and Asian, happens between a black person and an Asian person. It happens all the time. Now, if you're like the National Alliance, who says that we should all be white, I'm going to go, hells no. Okay, first of all, we all came from black people, so let's keep that in mind. So, no. No. So really, it is all about communication, and the race part doesn't come into it. It is entirely up to you and the way you communicate with other people and your ability to change your message so that it is understood by other people. Okay? It is entirely up to you. If the other person is going to be so lazy as not to try, okay, well, you can fault them for that. But as long as you're making your effort to make yourself understood, then you are doing what you should be as a human being. Okay? So we can live in an integrated world. There is no problem with that. I can live with Asians, Persians, part Asian, Indians, Chinese, whatever. But there has to be effort by everybody to want to get along with each other. That is key. We need to have that. And I think the white nationalists that we're seeing in the news these days don't want that. And for that, they are wrong. Sadly, there are no other places on this planet for them to go to. Perhaps Canada, but I do hear that they have a good minority population. So I'm not sure where these white nationalists expect to go. Vermont is pretty white. Maybe I should suggest that they go to Vermont. Iceland is pretty white, but it's, you know, pretty cold there. So I'm not sure how they expect to solve this problem. I really don't think there is a solution to the problem. So that problem needs to go out the door. Not worry about that problem and figure out how to live with the people that are here. So enough said about that. I was going to talk about good movies, because I know in one episode I did talk about my favorite movies, and I had forgotten to mention To Kill a Mockingbird. Awesome film. Great performance by Gregory Peck. It was on TCM this evening, and so I had to watch it. Scout's narration during the film is absolutely superb. The acting is great, but her narration throughout the film just ties it together in such a way that the second that movie is on, I want to watch it. My son said, "Is this age appropriate for me? It's got the word kill in it." And I was like, dude, this is one of the single greatest movies ever made. So, yes, it is age appropriate for you. Yes, they talk about a couple of things, but we can explain those things to you. But yeah, if ever get a chance, see To Kill a Mockingbird. Gregory Peck's performance, fantastic. I was going to say awesome, but it's fantastic. Especially when he did the summation in the courtroom, one take, nails it. And then as he's walking out of the courtroom, all the black people who aren't allowed at the first level or in the second level, they all stand up. And then, I think he's a reverend, tells Scout, stand up. Your father's passing. As a sign of respect for the man who was doing the job of trying to defend Tom Robinson. Brock Peters. Good actor too. Okay, so that's it for now. I'm going to wish you all a pleasant evening. Hope that your weekend goes well, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.